Now, if you're watching this video, it's probably because at some point you held XRP, you were looking at the price, you wanted to look at some information on recent news of XRP, you wanted to follow the Ripple versus the SEC case. And along those lines, you probably also saw me talking about some of other coins, some other cryptocurrencies, the Bitcoin network, things like that. And I wanted to tell you in this video, one of the factors that's actually very important for looking at altcoins specifically that are either trending, their price action is about to move. And so I'm going to go over one of the indicators that I actually use and use that information and put it to good use, including using it in some of my Patreon information. If you haven't checked out my Patreon, the link is always in the description below. So all that to say is just some information on how I find what altcoins could be running hot next. Also, some information for those of us in the United States. FTX, which is a cryptocurrency exchange located in the United States, it's owned by Sam Bankman-Fried. It has introduced some new technology. It's not really new technology, but what they're doing is utilizing crypto tech, bringing futures Bitcoins to the FTX exchange and thus the US market. And so I'm going to tell you what this could mean and who they actually need to go through to get permission. And no, it is not the SEC. Also, the UK looks to be putting through some new legislation, or at least they're attempting to, that would make the UK a global cryptocurrency hub, including making stablecoins acceptable forms of payment in the UK. I'm going to tell you about it in this video. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel, we are covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all those topics interest you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the Late Night Grind community. Also, hit that bell notification icon so that way you'll be notified when I release a new video. Also, if you do a couple of things, I'd appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button, watch this video all the way to the end, and of course, check out my Patreon. Link in the description below. New content just added. So if you do all that, I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's jump into it. Now, FTX is a newish cryptocurrency exchange. It's owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, who's a 29-year-old billionaire. And so what they're doing is they're trying to bring futures Bitcoin to the FTX exchange. So what is futures Bitcoin? Well, it's basically a bet on the price of the future of Bitcoin, hence the futures. Now there's a lot more that goes into it, but that's basically the gist. When you buy a futures-based Bitcoin, you're just betting against its future price. You're not actually buying Bitcoin that you can then move into a digital wallet. Well, futures-based trading, which is what FTX is trying to bring, is typically very heavy with leveraged traders or margin traders. And so what they're trying to do is basically sort out the middleman, get rid of brokers. On the cryptocurrency world, traders use exchanges like FTX or Coinbase or Binance in order to trade cryptocurrencies. And if they want to use higher leverage, they got to go offshore because the United States doesn't allow that. Well, this, it seems like, is what FTX is trying to change. They've applied with the CFTC, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, basically to get permission to bring futures-based Bitcoin to the FTX exchange. Typically, this involves leverage, and so what happens is this tech, as they call it, it no longer needs margin calls. In a typical broker, if you use leverage and you're about to go under and they'll need to liquidate your position, you'll get what's called a margin call, where they'll say, hey, you need to either change your position or give more money into your account, something that we don't need to start liquidating and unwinding all of your positions. Well, in the crypto world, that's pretty much done automatically. And in fact, it's so volatile, there really is no chance for a margin call because you're liquidated before you even know it sometimes. So FTX applying to bring a futures-based Bitcoin to its exchange, in my view, is basically an attempt to bring a leverage trading to the United States. This would make FTX, it would give FTX a huge head and shoulders advantage over all the other exchanges in the US. In fact, we know Coinbase is struggling right now. Several other exchanges are struggling right now. But this would give FTX a huge advantage, a futures-based Bitcoin, something to keep an eye on, especially if you're a trader. I know I am. All right, so what's going on now in the UK? Because it looks like they're being very crypto progressive, where in the United States it looks like we're almost anti-crypto, depending on what news sources you follow. And so nonetheless, the UK's finance minister, as well as the UK Treasury, has been putting out different proposals in a series of proposals, basically aiming to make the UK a global cryptocurrency hub. Now, the most recent one is by saying that they are going to regulate the use of stablecoins and allow stablecoins to be used as a form of payment in the UK. That is very interesting and very progressive. I applaud them on that. And in fact, this quote directly from their finance minister, he said, consumers will be safeguarded by legislation that ensures victims of fraud can be paid and safeguards to access cash for millions of people who rely on it. Now, that sounds well and good, but there's some small part of that I just simply don't trust, because the article, at least from what I could find, it didn't mention any specific stablecoin, at least none that exist right now. So is the use of a stablecoin simply semantics in which they're actually trying to get a CBDC passed? Now, they didn't mention that either, but the use of a CBDC, or a central bank digital currency, is feared by many, and for good reason, because it basically sounds like programmable money, and that's exactly what it is. So the fact that this article is talking about making the UK a globally cryptocurrency-friendly, progressive country, that sounds great. And the use of stablecoins as payment tools, that sounds even better. But the fact that they didn't mention any specific stablecoins, that leaves a little bit of a red flag for me, because CBDCs could also fall into that equation. And if you mirror that up with what the finance minister said, safeguarding victims of fraud and ensure that they would get paid, well, that just sounds like you can create money out of thin air, almost like the fiat legacy system does now. But it's actually worse than the legacy fiat system, because not only would they be able to print money, they would be able to control it, they'd be able to program it as to who gets it, how much, and what they could spend their money on. That's the fear. That is the dangerous part that people don't want. So I'm going to be following what the UK is doing. And if you're in the UK, please comment in the comment section down below if you've heard of such things. Because I've seen other things that said, yeah, regulation, crypto regulation in the UK is coming. They want to be more progressive and crypto friendly. But something like this raises a little bit of a red flag. Because again, out of these multiple reports that I saw, there was no mention of a specific stablecoin. All right, so now I'm going to talk about XRP and what to look for in terms of if you think some of the prices are going to move up, if you think the prices are going to move down. Well, some of that depends on what the Ripple versus the SEC case is going on. Some of that also depends on what Google search trends are doing, what YouTube search trends are doing, as well as several other factors. So right now, I just wanted to outline some of the information that I use to not only pinpoint some of the coins that are about to make a run up or possibly have a big pullback, but also what I look at when I look at the price of XRP, because obviously I follow that very closely. Google Trends, it's the first one. Go to trends.google.com. You can type in any search term and it'll show you an approximate search volume in terms of if it's very popular or if it's not popular at all or if it's seasonal. You get the idea. So what I do is with a lot of these coins, you can do this, and you can narrow down from all the way from a 5-year period, actually even further back than that, all the way to a 1-hour period, so you can see how many searches Google is getting or YouTube is getting with these certain coins. Now, typically when that happens, there might have been a piece of news that came out about it. Maybe the price jumped or maybe the price dropped. That can also trigger a lot of searches. But the one thing that I use these for is simply an indicator. And that is, an indicator is one of many different things that could indicate that something is about to pop or something is about to drop. And so it's one of the indicators that actually told me that last year, the popularity of NFTs was about to collapse. And it's interesting because as soon as I saw that on Google Trends, NFTs was actually spiking. It was higher than search terms for Bitcoin. It was higher than search terms for crypto. It was one of the highest search terms for anything in all of the financial space, but it only lasted about 2 months. Search terms then came crashing down, and along with it came all the buying volume for NFTs, other than, of course, the big names that you might see on Twitter or YouTube. So while it is one indicator that you have to kind of take with a grain of salt, because sometimes there's a lot of false positives, and other times it's a lagging indicator because there's a piece of news that came out, so something already happened and you may have already missed it. But nonetheless, this is something that I use on at least a weekly basis, sometimes a daily basis, on tracking which coins that I think are worth following for the next 1 week, 1 month. And so this is also what I use for Patreon. I just put some new content up there in which I give basically a pick, some of which was based on price action, some of which was based on technical analysis, some of which was based on some news that just came out, and some of it was based on recent search volume. And if you do some of the searches, you can see that your favorite coin, well, it might be trending, or at least looks like it's going to start to trend. So like I said, this is just one indicator. It's actually a very good indicator of what something is currently doing or is about to do, or could be doing for the next several months. But I wanted to make mention of this because I'm actually in communication with a project that can actually help pinpoint which cryptocurrencies are going to outperform the market and you get to know about them before it actually happens. So I've been in communication with this project, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. I'll get you some more details when it is ready to happen, but I just wanted to get this video out because if instead of taking all this information in, or looking at all the search trends, doing technical analysis, following the news, and doing everything on a daily basis, if you don't do this full time like I do, it can be hard to stay on top of things. So what this project would eliminate almost all of that and help you find the best risk-reward ratios for the coins that are about to overperform. And so if you want to follow along with that, make sure you subscribe to the Late Night Grind YouTube channel. And of course, go check out my Patreon. There's a link in the description below. Follow me on Twitter. All the links are always down below in the description. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.